Today we're going to change the shock absorber and spring on this 1959 Vespa Touring. And we're going to do this because, as I've shown you in another video, these are old and very soft and make the handling of the bike terrible. So I bought a new sport shock absorber and a stiffer spring. So we're going to change that today. So we start by taking this lid off. Then we can have a screw here that we can loosen for the shock absorber, and there's also one in the top here, there, that we can take loose. Now the old shock is out and we can go ahead with the spring. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen this nut here. This nut and this shaft that goes through is combined here to this pigeon here for the brakes. So I think it's easier to remove this nut, take out this shaft here, it comes here, and then you will be able to fold this down and get the spring out. What I've done now is that I've loosened these two nuts and I took the shaft out here. That one that goes through here, that's not necessary for you, but I'm going to do that because I'm going to clean it up here. But I'm going to take this shaft out, and that's sitting here in the brake shoes, so I have to loosen this clip and then I can push the shaft out. So once that's out, you can now unscrew this like so, and be careful because inside here there's some needle bearings that you have to take control of. You can see that one is loose there, but I'll fix that. So now I just have to undo it in the top end. So in the top here it sits with a 13mm nut. So now I have to move this to the new spring and that one to the new spring. Now this top end is out and I can move that to the new spring, and as you can see this spring is a bit taller than the other one, and also this is 33% stiffer than the original one, so that's good. What I've done now is that I fitted the spring to the wheel hub here, and that is to test if it's possible to just loosen the spring in the top and then get it out, because if you can avoid moving this, removing this because all of the needle bearings, it's better to have that in place. So we're going to see if we can fit this now with this in place. This way I'm trying now to fit this shaft afterwards. It's quite tricky because you have to compress the new spring, and also the spring is, as you saw, a bit taller, longer than the old one, so I have to compress it a bit to get this hole to line up with the hole in the steering column. So that's the last piece that's going to in is through here. Now that's in place, and it was pretty hard to get this to line up due to the hard spring, longer spring. So I think the best thing is to, like we did when we took it off, have this loose and put this in last, and just make sure that all the needles for the bearing is greased up and sitting okay. So now we can go ahead with the shock absorber, and also remember to tighten the spring in the top. And here is the old and here is the new. You can see here. And this, you can order this with 2 different pressures in it. This is 60 psi. You could also order it with 100 psi, but I went for the 60 psi. So let's see if we can fit this. And you also got new screws for it. This was the problem with the original shock absorber. It's totally dead. Now that's done, I've changed the spring and the shock absorber. And this is the speedo cable. I'm going to change that later, but you've seen that in another video how to do that.